All right, welcome to the March 2nd, 2026 Chesterfield County Council meeting. Call the meeting to order. Going to ask Vice Chair Todd Smallwood to say the prayer and lead us in the pledge.
Let us pray. Father, we love you, we praise you, we thank you for this opportunity to come today humbly before you, Lord, to do the work for the people of Chesterfield County. As always, we ask that you guide our every thought, our every word, our every action. May everything we decide, Lord, glorify you. In the name of Jesus we pray, amen.
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 To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which we stand, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I need a motion to adopt the agenda. All right, there's a motion by Mr. Kirkley. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, second by Dr. Brand. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, tonight we are honored to recognize two men who we are incredibly proud of and just so thankful to have in our county. You'll see on your agenda tonight that Sergeant Matthew Winburn is listed here. There's another Matthew Oliver with Chesterfield Fire Department. He couldn't be with us, but we do have someone here to accept on his behalf. So with that, what we're going to do is we're going to read the resolutions, or Mr. Bryant's going to read, and then we'll call you up, and then we'll have a picture at the end together.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Council Chair Anderson. What I'm reading is a resolution of appreciation in honor of Sergeant Matthew Winburn for his life-saving acts and selfless service to the citizens of Chesterfield County. Whereas the Chesterfield County Council deems it both appropriate and necessary to formally recognize those exemplary individuals who willingly place themselves in harm's way to protect the lives and safety of our citizens. And whereas on the morning of January 22nd, 2026, Sergeant Matthew Winburn responded to a residential structure fire where occupants were believed to be trapped, and upon arrival, he found the home fully engulfed in flames. And whereas, without hesitation and at great personal risk, Sergeant Winburn located a trapped occupant, broke a window, and pulled the individual to safety. And whereas, upon learning that a second occupant remained inside the residence, Sergeant Winburn, assisted by Matthew Oliver, a firefighter with Chesterfield Fire Department, forced entry through another window and successfully rescued the second individual. And whereas, through decisive action and coordination with fellow first responders, both occupants were removed from imminent danger without sustaining life-threatening injuries. And whereas, through these acts, Sergeant Matthew Winburn has exemplified the highest standards of bravery, professionalism, and devotion to duty, bringing honor to his department and to the citizens he serves. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Chesterfield County Council hereby expresses its profound gratitude and appreciation to Sergeant Matthew Winburn for his heroic actions and unwavering commitment to the safety and well-being of the citizens of Chesterfield County, and that the Chesterfield County Council hereby adopts this resolution of appreciation in his honor.
Okay, do I have a motion to accept this resolution honoring Sergeant Matthew Winburn for his life-saving acts?
Second.
Going to fight over that one. Mr. Ford.
Brandon
Ms. Price. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. And let's give this man a round of applause.
Amen. Sergeant, let me shake your hand. Thank you for the job well done, sir. Sir.
two reasons for great character.
We also have a resolution honoring Matthew Oliver of Chesterfield Fire Department, and Clyde Watson's going to accept that on his behalf in just a few minutes. But first, we'll have Mr. Bryant read that resolution.
Thank you, Council Chair Anderson. This is a resolution of appreciation in honor of Matthew Oliver for his life-saving acts and selfless service to the citizens of Chesterfield County. Whereas the Chesterfield County Council deems it both appropriate and necessary to formally recognize those exemplary individuals who willingly place themselves in harm's way to protect the lives and safety of our citizens. And whereas on the morning of January 2nd, 2026, Matthew Oliver, a firefighter with the Chesterfield Fire Department, responded to a residential structure fire where occupants were believed to be trapped. And upon arrival, the home was found to be fully engulfed in flames. And whereas, upon learning the occupants remained inside the residence, Mr. Oliver, without hesitation and at great personal risk, assisted in forcing entry through a window to gain access to the burning home. And whereas, through courageous action and coordination with fellow first responders, including Sergeant Matthew Winburn of the Chesterfield County Sheriff's Office, Mr. Oliver helped locate and successfully remove a trapped occupant from the residence. And whereas through decisive action and coordination with fellow first responders, both occupants were removed from imminent danger without sustaining life-threatening injuries. And whereas through these acts, Matthew Oliver has exemplified the highest standards of bravery, professionalism, and devotion to duty, bringing honor to the Chesterfield Fire Department and to the citizens he serves. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Chesterfield County Council hereby expresses its profound gratitude and appreciation to Matthew Oliver for his heroic actions and unwavering commitment to the safety and well-being of the citizens of Chesterfield County, and that the Chesterfield County Council hereby adopts this resolution of appreciation in his honor.
Okay, do I have a motion to accept this resolution honoring Matthew Oliver?
So moved, so moved.
A motion by Dr. Brand. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. McClendon. All right, Bishop McClendon. All right, any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, good. So once again, let's give Matthew Oliver a round of applause.
Sir, let us get your hand if you don't mind. Sir, let us get your hand. Let him know that we appreciate his service. Thank you so much.
Gives you hope knowing that we have good young people in our county looking out for each other and the rest of us. So thank you again. All right, we have two sets of minutes we need to approve. First is the February 5th regular council meeting. Is there a motion to approve these minutes?
Motion.
All right, there's a motion by Mr. Smallwood, second by Dr. Brand.
Second.
Oh, okay. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, then we also had a council briefing on February the 17th. We had a few people on Zoom with us, so anyone who was at that meeting, is there someone who would like to make a motion to approve the minutes?
I motion we approve the minutes.
Okay, Bishop McClendon. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, second by Mr. Kirkley. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, no opposed. We have the bonds, payroll, and authorizations going around now. We have 3 appointments tonight. The first is the diagnostic audit of the treasurer's office. We have Stephen Patrick. He's going to join us on Zoom, so we might need 1 second just to get that ready for us. Or should we go down and come back? There he is.
Watch your head, watch your head, watch your head. Watch your head.
He got a limbo out. Mr. Patrick, Can you hear us okay? All right, good.
I can.
Well, we're so glad to have you join us, and I'm going to turn it over to you for the diagnostic audit.
Yeah, sure. And it's a pleasure to be here. I appreciate you guys, giving us this opportunity to look into this area for you. Obviously, this was not a full scope audit. It was about 50 hours and just really trying to get an idea of what could potentially be going on, what's going on, just sort of take a look under the hood, so to speak. And so during that process, we came back and do you guys, what do you have in front of you? Do you have the full audit report and the council briefing summary? Do you have both of those items, or what are you?
Yes.
What are
Yes, yes, I have both.
Yeah, they do.
Okay, right, okay. So I wasn't planning on going through the full audit report tonight. That one's pretty lengthy, but I can get into any questions you guys may have from it. But just looking at the council briefing, so the three main areas I think that there's risk around in this county, the highest risk is really that control environment. When you do not have a solid control environment, it allows frauds to occur. We don't have, in here, there's pretty much material weaknesses related to, the reconciliations that are occurring. Those are not occurring on a regular basis. I think you've had to employ a CPA firm in order to get those caught up. That's a major red flag. Not necessarily that fraud is occurring, but it does allow the environment for fraud to occur in. It creates that environment. And there's no real independent supervisory review. There weren't documented sign-offs. There were reconciliation items, which I think is probably the most significant area of this county. I sat down with Tracy, who is an audit partner, regarding a reconciliation that she had made with a proof of cash and working her way back as to what occurred. And she told me that she had to book about $9.2 million in corrective journal entries, which is, it just sounds like someone's not doing their job. And so that's the fact that is happening. It's hard enough to recreate things that happen over the course of a month in accounting, and much less trying to go back and recreate 3 months, 6 months, a year. People forget things. There's turnover that occurs. It's just, there's a lot of holes that can happen when you're not daily going through some kind of systematic process of making sure things are getting entered, and then ultimately having a monthly reconciliation to true things up. A lot of the reconciliations were reconstructive rather than contemporaneous. They weren't handled at the same time that things were occurring. And so that's a major control issue. When you have that, you create an environment, you go back to Cressy's fraud triangle, and you get pressure, opportunity, and rationalization. And that kind of environment creates opportunity. Opportunity enough is not, alone is not enough to create fraud, but it does allow for those circumstances to develop. The next thing is that specific $193,000 cumulative unresolved variance. Sounds like a prior period adjustment that was not reconciled. We're not sure exactly what occurred, what caused it. That variance really reflected a lot of, just different, posting errors. We don't even really know. We're not sure what the 193,000 is. I will say this in my personal view. According to the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners, there's a couple of key statistics. There are 86% of all frauds involve asset misappropriation with an average occurrence of about $100,000. 4% of all frauds occur financial statement manipulation, but their average occurrence is a lot larger, like 750-ish thousand per occurrence. So when you talk about the size, the magnitude, the scope, and the likelihood of the kind of fraud that could have occurred, the likelihood is if you don't have sophisticated accountants, you're probably not dealing with a financial statement fraud manipulation. Not saying it can't happen, not saying it didn't happen or couldn't. But my gut is telling me, based on my interviews, that you're not dealing with a very technically savvy accounting cohort in that Treasury Department, which would lead me to that 193,000 is probably missed journal entries that were not identified as part of that 9.2 million. That would be my gut. Doesn't necessarily mean that's right. I haven't done enough auditing to know that with 100% certainty, but that's my gut. And then the final area is that cash handling and manual processes, which had a moderate risk area as well, but we know that there has been confirmed fraud from loose cash within that department. And I would say after talking with certain individuals, I felt pretty good about it was probably more than one person that was putting their hands in that pot. That would be my guess. Okay? It'd be hard to say more without additional work. But my gut would be that more than one person has probably done that. And it really started because of a weird process involving a tax revenue account and the tax refund account. And when checks would come into the office and there was an overage or someone maybe paid their car off too early, or they bought a car, paid the ad valorem, and then they sold the car and they were due a refund. The way the refund process would be initiated is cash would be removed from the cash register and placed in envelopes. And those envelopes would sit from anywhere from a day to 2 weeks on somebody's desk. And when they were seated, when they were loose, after it accumulated to a large enough amount, that money was then deposited into the tax refund account and checks were then issued back to individuals. Sometimes there was a shortage. This is circumstantial. Again, a lot of this hasn't been validated, but there was according to what I understand, there was a shortage sometimes due to timing. Could have also been due to the fact that deposits did not make it into the account and transfers from the tax revenue account had to go in the tax refund account to cover that. Again, I can't confirm it, but at this point, that's what I understand. And so I think because we're not dealing with sophisticated accountants who were not doing regular journal entries, things were out of place. My gut is telling me that if there was fraud that was occurring, it's probably on the asset misappropriation which is loose cash and deposits not being made. That would be my guess on what has happened as far as that goes. Before I continue, I think I want to just ask, do you guys have any questions on what I've said so far?
I think just for the public to know, I should have probably said this before I introduced you, Dr. Patrick, but our council was concerned because year after year, we've had to pay extra money because audits have been late, and then we're hearing things from the treasurer's office that just didn't sound right and feel right, and we knew that there were some things that weren't right happening. So we initially thought maybe a forensic audit, but then after consulting with some other folks, we realized that maybe this limited scope review would be what we needed to do first. So that's why we have Dr. Patrick here giving us information back on that limited scope review. So it's not, that's an elected official's office, not our office, but it's our problem. And it's the taxpayer's problem if you're having to pay extra, if we're having to pay extra every year for work that should already be done. So that is why Dr. Patrick's involved, and I just wanted to make sure that everybody, had that background.
Dr. Patrick,
Yes.
I am concerned, and I have some serious issue with this. Accountability means everything to me, especially when we're talking about taxpayer money. Are you saying, I just want to get some clarity here, that the $193,000, you don't know whether it's missing or inappropriately put in a different location? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that is correct.
It could be either or though, right?
What, sir?
It could be either or. It could be missing, which means it's taken, or it could be misappropriately put somewhere else.
That is
All right?
correct.
Are you also saying that, based off my reading here, that $9.2 million goes through that office on an annual basis?
Well, actually, it's more than that.
It's a lot more than that?
I've heard numbers up to 65 million a year.
Okay, and that gonna make my point even more valid, why I am concerned. Did you give us, or were you asked to give us any recommendation on corrective action? Cause to
Yes.
bring about a problem and don't bring corrective action boils down to nothing.
Yes, and
So what was your recommendation, if I may ask?
so I've added some corrective recommendations. In the final audit report, if you look, let's see, at section, section 9, you will see a lot of different corrective actions and areas to help with this process. Actually, I'm sorry, section 8. I was thinking 9's not right. Section 8. Section 8, page 21, all the way through 25. That really gives a lot of corrective actions that could be taken regarding what is going on here. There's a summary of it in the brief, but the final audit report would have, more of those corrective actions. It's dangerous to not have these things in place, because whether or not something has occurred is a different question than whether something could occur.
So also, Bishop McClendon, page 4 of the briefing has kind of a timeline of 0 to 90 days, 3 to 12 months, and just some suggestions there. And I know our budget committee has met and made some recommendations back to the treasurer's office. And from my understanding, they've begun doing those things. Is that, I was going to call on you for that?
That is correct, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I got something I'd like to say. I'd like to say, from your professional opinion, what do you think about the treasurer's office?
Go ahead.
I got something I'd like to say. From your professional opinion, what do you think about the treasurer's office? are we experiencing this because of incompetency or complacency?
It could be a combination of both. Again, I haven't had the time to really, spend with every single person in enough length and detail and watching procedures and processes and the way that, people would conduct their day-to-day operations to give a really clear opinion on that. But it could easily be part of both.
All right, anything else for Dr. Patrick?
I'd like to hear the
We
rest.
we do have Stephanie from our auditor's office. She's going to present the audit, but if you have something specific to him, we're going to let him go if you don't.
Yeah, I don't know if this is to Dr. Patrick, but has the treasurer been privy to this information of what we've got in our hand today?
That's a good question.
That he was invited to come to the meeting, here at the same time everyone else. But yeah, I'll be sending him a
We can
copy.
certainly get him a copy.
Yeah.
I got one, let me ask Dr. Patrick, one quick, just so I understand, the $190,000, would you consider that a substantial amount of money in your profession for the size revenue they generate through taxes?
So if you're talking about a materiality, that would be a question for Stephanie and the materiality that they have developed, for this. Personally, I would consider that pretty substantial. But at the same time, I also feel that if you've already adjusted 9.2 million, which is material, the 9.2 is definitely material. I really do believe that 193,000 probably was something related to the 9.2 million. It probably should have been 9.4 million or something like that.
So even $9.2 million in your profession is a lot of money to correct a journal into the books.
Yeah, when you're dealing with 9.2 out of 65 million or 50.
I'm looking
I've
at
seen
percentages,
so-
yeah.
Yeah, that's a large number. That's 20% if it's 50 million.
So 20% of the entries had to be rejournaled, or near about 20%, 30%.
20% of the dollar amount.
Yeah,
Yeah, it may not have been numerically 20%, but yes, 20% of the dollars. And I'd say 15 to 20, depending on if that's a 60 million or, the full scope.
Just a
It's
brief-
still large enough that, yes, that's material.
Dr. Brand, did you have a question?
Yes, just a brief question. Dr. Patrick, with the 193 million,
1,000.
I meant thousand, excuse me, upon your profession, your recommendation, where do we go from here with this?
So the three paths that I recommended, there's the forward-looking remediation only. That's basically just saying, hey, what's in the past is in the past. We're just going to go forward, accept that, and just strengthen our controls, fix our processes, and move forward like that. You could also have a targeted supplemental testing where you conduct limited forensic procedures to reduce more uncertainty, or you could expand it, do a full transactional level reconstruction if you wanted to. Now, so I look at it like this. There would be, and this is, if I were running this, I'm not trying to sell myself on work. I truly am not. I am busy enough. I am busy enough. I teach at about 13 schools. I'm busy enough. So what I would recommend is Tracy and her group, if you were really trying to go through and look at the $193,000, what I would tell you to do is I would go through and let them, they're familiar with the reconciliation process. It would take me time to get familiar with it. They're familiar with that process. I would say let them go back and research the 193 from their perspective. Okay? That would be my first, if it meant something to you, that's what I would do. Secondly, I think the biggest risk in fraud, I think, and I could be 100% wrong, but I think the 193,000 is missed journal entries. That's what I think. The thing that I think occurred is petty theft. That's probably what happened. And that would be the asset misappropriation. That would be the loose cash that has gone around. So there's a terminology of stepping on dollars to pick up nickels. You could do a forensic investigation to find that, but it would probably cost you more than you found.
Right.
And then the question would be, do you want to spend the money that way or a different way and just look forward and improve the processes and improve the controls? That would be my recommendation.
Thank you.
He's talking about, when he said Tracy, there's a accounting firm in Camden who we've had come in, and not just this year, but in years past, when the audit hasn't met the deadline, they've come in. So they are aware of our county and what's going on, and I see your guidance there to be probably the direction we need to go in.
Can I make one final statement, just for clarity? As a council, I think you vividly stated, we can't do nothing, we just can make recommendation because an elected official is over that office. Am I correct? And this has to be resolved at the voting booth. Okay.
All right, anybody else? What's that? Would you like to add? You may,
Well, I will say
Why not?
this, if it's all right with you,
Sure.
Madam Chair, that
of course.
the Finance Committee has met on this topic. As Mr. McClendon said, this is a different office. We don't have any control over it or oversight. We have gotten together and made recommendations very similar to what you have here, Dr. Patrick. I'm glad to hear they're being implemented. We can't force it. We can strongly encourage. And I would like to also say that when you look at $9.2 million, I'm not, and I think we can all agree on this, whether it's 193,000, 9.2 million. When you're talking about tax dollars, it honestly doesn't matter if it's $19,000.
That's correct.
It's huge,
$9.
right? It's a big deal, and we need to find it. So just know moving forward, we're going to continue to look at this and monitor this as best we can from a council and the Finance Committee to hopefully see improvements, but also continue to make recommendations in the strongest possible manner to rectify these problems.
All
Well
right,
said.
Madam Chair.
yes,
I would like to say to the public that this council has sent a letter to the governor's office for a recommendation on this matter to help in any way that the governor's office has the ability to help. So saying that, this council's not sitting here letting this happen without trying to do something. It may sound like we're spinning our wheels, but when you're dealing with elected officials that's not a part of this body, it's hard for us to get anything done. So I just wanted that to be noted.
thank you. We have been ringing the bell. Yep. And thank you, Dr. Patrick, for your time. All right.
Was there anything else that you guys need from me?
Not tonight, but if you all come up with anything or you have any further questions, if you'll give them to Michelle, she can get them to Dr. Patrick, and then we can have our responses, and we can talk about those at our briefing if that comes up, if we need to.
193,000 would be suffice.
Good night, Dr. Patrick.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, thank you guys. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, take
We-
care.
We've already mentioned Stephanie Call's name. She works for Halliday and Schwartz and Company, and she's very familiar with our county. She comes every year and helps us out, and we appreciate you being here with us to explain. Stephanie can answer any of your audit questions.
Well, since he went first and was talking about the treasurer's office, I'll kind of start with that on my end. But when he said the tax, I think he was talking about the tax account has $91 million going through. Is that what he was saying?
Right.
But it's,
Well, when I look at it, I'm looking at the treasurer's office total. The treasurer's office total has $191 million flowing through that one department.
Give me that total again.
191 million.
Okay.
Yes. They're holding assets that belong to other governments, agencies, taxpayers, everybody. And it, that is, it's called a statement of fiduciary net position. They have a fiduciary responsibility to these taxpayers, to these other governments to take care of their money. And that's why we're all having an issue with it, is because there are no controls over the money going on in there. And for the past 4 years, we have reported, material weaknesses in internal control over financial reporting, specifically for the treasurer's office, and it's all stemmed from this same issue. I can read a little excerpt of my finding, and it kind of summarizes it. When he was talking about the $9 million adjustment, I think he was netting two numbers. And in my finding, I explicitly said, more specifically, the tax account, which contains the largest volume of transactions, was missing approximately $2.5 million of revenue transactions and $13.2 million of expenditure transactions. These were identified when the outside accountant was hired by the county to assist in reconciling the tax account. On top of those entries that she made, I made another $8.7 million worth of audit adjustments to get the books right. So you're talking net $9 million. We'll take another $8.7 million, and I've booked those. And I'll go over those in just a minute. I have to report those to you,
Right.
and it's in my communication letter. But before I kind of gear back over towards the financial statement audit side, do y'all have any questions for me? I will say the reason why we can't assist in reconciling these accounts is because it impairs our independence. That's why we ask that they bring in another CPA firm to come in and do the reconciliation process. And I'm glad that they brought, Stephen in to take a look at it too, because it's always good to have a fresh set of eyes. Right. He was talking about materiality. Y'all asked, is $193,000 material? And for a financial statement audit, no, but to me, that's a lot of money.
So basically what he was doing is speculating on what his opinion was on their audit, but you got the facts here tonight.
Well, I don't know what the $193,000 is either. I think the only way you're going to find that is if you hire Tracy to go back 2, 3, 4, 5 years worth of books and try to re-reconcile. That's the only way you would find it. And I do agree with him. I do believe it's probably missed journal entries. They, they missed $9 million worth of journal entries. What's another $200,000? They probably did. So.
Why would they have to go back and do corrective measures on that amount of volume?
They're not recording the activity as it happens.
So lazy.
Or incompetence. one
Or
the other.
incompetence, yeah.
I think it's a combination of both.
Both, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you shouldn't have that kind of volume if you're recording it in real time, right?
Yes. And that was, in our recommendation, we talk about, taking the manual out of the process. Just don't do the manual processes, use more automated processes.
Right.
And that would help you and get more real-time, information so that you have accurate financial reporting. Because, they're basing these, they're basing, tax allocations out when they really don't even know what's sitting in the bank account.
Right.
So how do you know what you're allocating out is actually correct? So,
May I ask you a question?
yes.
Do the treasurer has the authority to hire and fire his staff as he or she will?
I believe so. I
Okay,
believe so.
that can help resolve a problem.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, I got a question.
Yes.
So y'all do this for a lot of other,
Yes, we don't do as many counties as we used to do, but we do a lot of school districts, so we're definitely in the governmental arena. We do another county that's very similar size-wise to you guys, and we do a lot of the local school districts too.
so in your professional opinion, the current situation that we're in is, I'm biased because I'm just part of one county, but for you, is this one of the heartburn jobs that y'all have because you know what you're walking into, and it's very different from the majority of everything else y'all do?
I don't like to see my counties in these situations, or any of my clients in this situation, because I know it's a bad situation to be in. It does create more work for us. So yeah, I guess I'd say it does give me a little bit of heartburn thinking about it, and knowing that it's not necessarily going to meet, the timeline. These audits are due to the state by 12/31, and that's impossible when you're getting books that are millions of dollars misstated. And, I'm kind of limited on what I can do to get it out the door.
And remember, we would lose our local government fund, or we lose funding if we don't have these done on time, which is why we're hiring somebody to come in to make sure
Yes,
that they're done.
yes, they
But
will
let's
hold
let
that.
Stephanie, get
me to
through
go
it.
ahead?
Yeah, go ahead. Uh-huh.
Okay, well, I'm just gonna go through, so he kept saying audit, and it was confusing me, but he did a limited scope review.
Right.
So mine is a financial statement audit and a single audit. And so a single audit is where we look at your federal funds, and we also look at your internal controls. And that's partially where this comes from, this finding for the treasurer's office, is we look at internal controls over financial reporting. We don't make an opinion about them, but if we see anything bad, we report it to you. And so that's what we've done in our single audit report. The other report has to do with compliance with federal awards. And I will say, the majority of your federal awards is your ARP or your ARPA funds. And that is the major program that we tested, and we had no issues, no compliance findings. That's an unmodified opinion. We do opine on that and say, yes, you materially complied with your federal award programs. And we didn't identify any internal control issues over compliance either. The communication letter that I gave you kind of outlines what we do, and it's our required communication to you guys about the audit. Basically, it's just telling you that, what is our responsibility and what is your responsibility. Our responsibility as prescribed by professional standards is to perform an audit to obtain reasonable rather than absolute, so that's where that materiality comes into play. Reasonable assurance that the financial statements are free of material misstatement. And we also take into consideration your system of internal controls over financial reporting as a basis of designing our audit procedures. So in saying that, we perform a risk-based audit. We don't look at every little thing. We look at what's the riskiest areas. And this isn't any different from any other year. This is just, our standards have required us to be a little more clear on explaining what we're doing. And so for this audit, our biggest risk was improper, revenue recognition. Are they recording more revenue than really exists? And then also management override of controls. Is management overriding the controls? Because those controls are key in making sure you have good financial reporting. And of course, there's certain audit areas that we look at more closely. You've got some estimates in your financial statements that we look at, more specifically with, your net pension liability, your net OPEB liability. Those are all based on actuarial valuations. Your estimates for, doubtful accounts regarding taxes receivable, you're pretty conservative on that approach. You don't assume you're gonna get it if it's more than a year late, so. But in saying that, we look at your estimates and, we've evaluated them and we see no issues with them. They're reasonable. And then there's a new estimate this year, and it's compensated absences. And so basically, this is GASB 101 came out and said, hey, y'all need to put on your books a liability for the amount of leave that your employees might use, not just what might be paid out. So before GASB 101, y'all had a compensated absences liability, and it basically just said, it was for unused vacation leave that has yet to be paid out. Well, now, your liability is recognizing unused vacation and sick leave that might be used before they're terminated and paid out. So it's just, you're including an estimate. And these are based on historical trends of how your employees are using their sick time over the course of their employment. So, So also in this letter, we talk about uncorrected and corrected misstatements. Any misstatements that we identified for the finance office, they've made those adjustments, none of which were material. They weren't, large issues. If you look at the last 2 pages of my letter, those are the journal entries that we made to the treasurer's office. And basically, it is not, Tracy came in and cleaned up the cash account and reconciled the cash account. I'm cleaning up all the other accounts. So I had to clean up receivables. I had to clean up payables. In all honesty, they were netting transactions, so I had to, gross back out revenues and expenses. So all of that came to about $8.7 million of audit adjustments that we made. Michelle looked over, she agreed with them and posted them. So, and I am required to communicate these to you, so that's why they're in this letter. And I think that's all you really need to know about that letter. I did give you a little one-pager that kind of sums up your financial statement so you're not flipping through the book. Basically, you've got a little audit summary in the left corner. You have an unmodified audit opinion. That's the best you can get. That's the highest I can give. That basically means that these financial statements are materially correct. You can rely on them. Okay, so the report on internal controls over financial reporting, that's your treasurer's finding. I already talked about the your major programs opinions, and there were no findings. So if you go over to the right side, top, you've got your government-wide financial statements, and I've mixed up all my papers because I didn't start in my order. So your government-wide statements, they basically represent all your funds together and include capital assets and long-term obligations. The intent is to provide a broad, long-term overview of the county's finances similar to a private sector business. Y'all typically don't look at these very often, but once a year when I produce them. But where you guys spend most of your time is in the funds, and because the funds show a more detailed, information about the county's significant funds and focuses on near-term financing of the county. That includes your general fund, which is the budget that you guys, create every year. And then you've got your capital reserve fund, your capital equipment fund, and other non-major funds like your fire districts, rescue squads. They're small. So your ending fund balance for all funds was $33.6 million. That was increase of $1.9 million from last year. The general fund summary is down at the bottom, and that's where you guys are more familiar with. If you look at it, it looks like you made a lot of money over budget, $23.1 million, but the bulk of that has to do with grants, specifically the ARPA grants. You had 2 extra grants that passed through to the water districts, and that's included in those numbers. So that was between your portion of ARP funds and those 2 water districts, that was $17.8 million, I believe. So that's a lot of money, and that's why you're seeing these variances between your budget to actual. Same thing with expenditures. Your expenditures are over $20 million, over budget $20 million. Same thing, you've just spent your grant funds. So I don't see any huge swings there. The only other things I saw with your general fund was, your public safety was over budget, $856,000. I think that's pretty typical every year, overtime and whatnot, for sheriff and detention center and all that kind of stuff. And then your change in general fund balance, it's showing a loss of $500,000. But the bulk, Michelle and I were talking about this, and I think it's because, well, I know it's because of this one particular grant from the state that you have to spend all the money first and then get reimbursed for it. So at June 30th, your fiscal year end, you hadn't finished the project, so you have all this money you've spent, but you had no revenues to offset it. But you will this coming year have revenues to offset it, so that number will go up next year.
That's the Power Team grant that she's talking about.
Power
for the
Team,
industrial
yes.
park.
Yeah.
So we got to finish that phase 3 before we get the money back. And it affected actually 2 grants, your SC Locate and the Power Team.
And, your other financing sources, you're under budget by $2 million. Well, that's because you didn't transfer from your capital reserve fund. In the past several years, you've budgeted for that, but you haven't done it because you hadn't needed it.
Which is a great thing.
Yes.
Yes. And if, I usually get asked, what's a healthy fund balance?
Yeah.
Well, I usually combine.
Doug's not here to ask you. He usually
I
asks
know,
that
he always
question.
asks that.
That's Doug's question.
That is. So what I usually do is I add up your general fund and your capital reserve fund, because your reserve fund is there to help you in times of need. If you look at that, you're well over what we call healthy. Generally, a good fund balance is 3 to 6 months worth of general fund expenditures, and you're like well over 12 months. So you've set a pretty good reserve up for future, unanticipated events or anything you don't see past these next few months. You've got a good reserve to help you in that case if something comes along. So. Okay, I feel like I've jumped all over the place, but after hearing Stephen, I wanted to kind of start with that. Do y'all have any other questions for me?
I have one final statement, if I may, Madam Chair. You brought complete clarity to my mind. So as of today, based on your audit, would you say that the Treasury Department is up to standard as of today, as of right now?
I haven't, I don't know how they're operating at this particular moment. I won't come back in to see that until
Okay.
after this, this fiscal year end. But we've been saying that for 4 years and it's not happening. So I'm kind of one of these, I'll believe it when I see it. So, and I probably shouldn't say this, but my faith in Fred is pretty low, so,
I have no further questions.
okay.
So Stephanie, just for my clarity,
Yes.
I hope you can hear me. As far as your audit, the council, the county council, is doing what we need to do.
Yes, and your finance team is amazing, yes.
Thank
Y'all are doing what you need to do financially, you're in a good position, and you've got great internal controls with the finance department, definitely, yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much.
And my information is on the top of this form, so if you ever have questions after the fact, you're more than welcome to call or text or email, whatever you want to do.
Thank
So,
you.
Thank you.
All right, our final appointment tonight, we have Don Strickland with PDRTA. He has a presentation and, there we go, okay, good.
Good
Welcome.
evening now, right?
Right.
Thank y'all for having me give you an update for public transit. I am Don Strickland, Executive Director for PDRTA. Our board chair is sitting right here, Councilwoman Burns, and very thankful for her. She keeps me straight about 99% of the time. But thank y'all for that. A lot going on. I've got a big presentation. I'm not going to run through all of it. I have sent that to Ms. Stanley, and I'll see if she could maybe share the PDF with council for y'all to be able to review, but I'll get through it. You've already got a lot on the agenda, so we'll run right through it, and then I'll try to give a couple minutes for any questions that y'all may have as well. Won't read our mission. That's on our website. You can find it there, but I'll keep on rolling. So a lot of new faces here from the last time I presented before council, but third largest RTA in the country, over 3,600 square miles at PDRTA that we run. Just run through some of this, but 28 fixed routes across our 6 rural counties, over 3,600 square miles. This year, this fiscal year, over 1.4 million revenue miles. And we are unbelievably, this number last year was right around 401,000, and this year we'll do 525,000 passenger trips. So a major increase in ridership over this past year. I will not read all these words, but we run a lot of different services. We have fixed route services, for instance, like Pageland and the Sherrall Express bus that runs around the city. Our headways and picking up folks, moving them to and from around the city. And then we provide demand response services, which those services are door-to-door. We pick up from the home. We have a lot of residents in Chesterfield County that has, wheelchair ramps, walkers, and we move a lot of folks for that. A lot of medical trips, a lot of different services. Other two things, van pools and parking rides, that's the future. Every bus that we operate is ADA accessible. Every bus we have in service has bike racks on the front of it. A lot of folks do bike to where the fixed routes are, and they put their bike on the front and they hop on and get where they need to get to. So they do use that. Every bus has audio and video, and then our drivers go through a ton of training every year. Every employee at PDRTA is first aid CPR certified, and we do take pride in that. So that's something we keep up with. Just a few more things mentioned as far as what our drivers go through, not just drivers, all of our employees. This is a list of all the routes we have. So Chesterfield County is down on that bottom right-hand side. And won't go through a lot of that, but basically we're doing a pretty decent job. Tonight I really want to talk about some changes and making the most out of what we have, and then also trying to grow the services that we have in place. We're doing a lot of services right now for medical reasons. In fact, Chesterfield County has the highest medical participation of all our other counties. We'll talk about that, but a lot of our counties, the majority is workforce related, but Chesterfield County is actually, if you're looking at the numbers, it's a lot of medical trips. Workforce also is there, but a lot of what we're doing is medical trips to CARE, South Carolina, a lot of folks going to the cancer center at McLeod from Chesterfield County, a lot of dialysis clients that we're taking every day to and from dialysis. That's typically 3 days a week. I've already read some of this, but economic return public transit is for basically for every $4 invested, or every dollar invested, you get 4 in return. Or our impact in our local economy is over $61 million. This is old data from last year, but you saw that 400,000 passenger trips. I've got to update this slide. And then down at the bottom, this is across our 6 counties. So roughly 59% of everybody that boards our buses are going to and from work. 22% is healthcare related. And then a big takeaway for us, and we do surveys, a week-long survey twice a year, but the big thing that we're looking at, you remember the 525,000 passenger trips, roughly 77% of everybody that boards our vehicles every day, they do not have a car at home. A lot of them do have, so like roughly 10-12% have one vehicle at home, but it's another, someone in that home that may be going to school or going to work that takes that vehicle and leaves everybody else without a vehicle in their household. A lot of folks are still seeking employment. Imagine taking all those folks to work, but then 23% still say that they're unemployed but seeking employment. So there's a lot of opportunities. Every survey we do, the feedback we get, everybody wants later services and they want more service on the weekends. So these are things that we have to eventually try to figure out. This is just Chesterfield County over the past really 5 years. So the 25-26 ends June 30 this year. That is a projection based on where we're at now. But you see where we're heading. I mean, we've almost, more than doubled in ridership just from 21-22. So the numbers are continuing to grow. What I'm going to present in a little bit, I really think we're going to have to redo this graph because the numbers could take off. And we're learning more. We finally are able to spend a little bit more time in Chesterfield County. And there's a lot of things that I think we can do to improve the services that we currently have out there. This is just kind of go into some of those, but we are in the middle of a transit study that we're wrapping up, and they're looking at everything that we're doing. But one thing that we're really trying to dive into is fixed route service or deviated fixed route, where the ridership doesn't meet like what we're doing in the Sherrall Express. So we have a route that's leaving Sherrall going all the way to Pageland, going through Chesterfield, Ruby Mount Croghan. Ridership's not where it needs to be, and what we've identified is that on that corridor, there's a lot of folks off the beaten path that can't get to that route. So one of the things that we're talking about, and we've had public hearings recently, is taking those resources, but then turning that more into a demand response service. So being able to have that driver, it's not going to be enough because it's going to be just what happened probably in Marlboro County, Marion County, Dillon County, is once we open the door and start pushing demand response service, more and more people are going to be requesting it. And we've got to be able to provide those services. But basically, because of how the county's set up with the park kind of dead center, everything else around it, the demand response service really is a way that I think we can reach a bigger audience. And looking at the number of seniors in Chesterfield County that's using our services over 65 years old, the ADA individuals, the demand response just makes a lot of sense for us. So that's something we'll be talking about. We're going to do a lot more outreach efforts. One thing that people still do not know, many are not aware of the services we have in Chesterfield County. And I'm taking the blame on that. We have a very small administrative team, and we just haven't had enough bandwidth to be able to be here and everywhere else. So this year we've got a focus, and we've already done some things. We're going to be doing a lot more, working with the senior centers, working with the churches, doing lunch and learns, doing a hot dog social, doing things to where we can educate the public so they understand the services that are there. And we have to be careful with this because at times we are maxed out. Like there's, so the more you educate, the more ridership we're going to have. And so we got to be able to coordinate that and be able to put additional vans. We are, through partnerships with McLeod, a CHC grant, a couple other places, we have purchased and received more minivans, so not the cutaway buses. The demand response service, those minivans, they're low floor. Instead of a lift coming out this high, they just fold right out. So it's a real easy on and off for seniors and folks. So I can really see more of those needed in Chesterfield County. So that's something we'll be looking at as well. Just some educational partners. I know Northeastern Tech is here mostly, but you also have folks going across county lines, going to other places as well. I won't show this video. This should be in your inbox. I mentioned earlier just about the workforce piece. That is something that we have really grown in the past few years, and just a lot of folks are using the services to get to and from work. That's something we can do a lot more of in Chesterfield County. Last time I was over here a few weeks ago, I did stop by Economic Development, and I think there's opportunities there for us to be able to get better tied in now that we're going to have resources to be able to do so. That's just some of the workforce partners that we have right now. Harbor Freight Tools is a good example. This is their GM. We have 130 associates on a manifest. We take about 60 to 70 to work every day, and those numbers could be even greater. But that's actually demand response, door-to-door service, taken to and from work every day. What they found out was that a lot, their turnover, if they have 2,000 employees, their turnover was mainly in a population base of about 200 associates. So we were able to kind of focus in on those 200 associates and getting a lot of them to and from work, and doing so, their retention rate really increased. So that's something I'd love to do more of here in Chesterfield County. This is just kind of some scheduling things, how folks schedule for fixed route service. I won't run through that. Again, the healthcare piece over here is big. So this is just some of our medical providers. When I show you a logo, these are actually partners of PDRTA. They're providing us local funds to be able to match federal and state dollars. I didn't really talk about that yet, but I think this will be a good time to. SCDOT is still, we've talked about this in the past, but you see the 1987, the bigger pizza, the bigger pie graph there, $6 million. This is part of the fuel tax across the state. But in 1987, PDRTA was getting about $700,000 or $800,000 from the state, which it was only 7 entities getting $6 million. Today, there's 34 systems getting the same $6 million. The number has not changed since 1987. We're really fighting hard on this at the state level to change that. And if we do, it changes things on the local level and municipality and governmental level as well. But this is a problem we're really working hard on, and I'm hopeful that we'll have some change maybe in this upcoming budget. As it sits today, there is no increase, but we're hopeful they're going to be able to make that happen. So. That's a problem. But basically, 67% of what we do is covered with federal funds. When we throw in a little bit of state, it moves up to about 75%. So for every dollar that we get on the local level, we're able to put $4 of service on the road. And that's really how we operate. We've left federal funds on the table for many years in this area, funds that could have been allocated to Chesterfield County, but because we didn't have enough local resources, those funds were allocated somewhere else. So there's more opportunity for us to be able to really bring the funds that's dedicated to be able to provide a better service in Chesterfield County. This is our transit study that we're doing. This is the difference between PDRTA and a lot of other RTAs. We're doing everything we can with our local partners. So our local government, as it sits today, is about 11% on our funding model. If you look at almost every other RTA in the state and the country, their local government piece is about half of what they do. And the reason is when we were, PDRTA is 52 years old now. When we were established, there's basically three pieces of law or bill that was passed whenever they established RTAs. One on the local level was a transportation tax, which is a 25-year tax. It can be part of roads and bridges. Coast RTA down in Myrtle Beach, they just passed the Ride 4. And the transit piece of that polled higher than all the other projects they had on the list. Obviously, there you have a lot of tourism. They knew that the more bus service, the more people are off the road. So that's something. But the other piece is road use fees, vehicle registration fees. Same thing most places as technical schools, EMS, other pieces. That's really part of the transit legislature too. So we have none of those at PDRTA. This is something we're fighting hard for because if we can figure those things out, we'll be providing a lot more services throughout the counties that we serve. But right now, it's our partners that are making it work. And but we do have to figure out, a dedicated local revenue stream across all 6 counties that we're working in now. As I mentioned, that this is on the left-hand side is the general or special purpose tax, transportation tax. We can be part of a capital sales tax, but for that, it would be more of capital projects. So buying those minivans, we get 85% federal funding to buy a vehicle. We only have to have 15% local to buy vehicles. So there's funding there for that. Same thing for bus stops and bus shelters. We're getting ready to put a bus shelter in Sherrall. Be the first one that we have right now in Chesterfield County, and I'm hoping that we can, do more there. The city of Hartsville, they'll have 10 in about a month, and then they're going to be doing 2 more, so 12 total just in the city of Hartsville. Marion County, they just signed up for 6 bus shelters. We get 80% federal funding for bus shelters. We did that in a combination of the school district and our passengers. So if there's a place where 10 kids are getting off a school bus, we're putting bus shelters in those locations. If it's raining outside, they're not soaking wet when they go to school. And then the other piece is the registration vehicles, for vehicles. That's one time a year where they're paying those fees. Most of the time, that's capped at $50 at the county level. A lot of our counties are between $30 to $40 right now. I talked about demand response, same-day service. We are providing next-day demand response service. If you're a Medicaid recipient and you try to schedule for through that program, it's 72 hours before you can go to the doctor. So we're doing next day. So if you're not feeling well at 5 o'clock today, you call us. We can get you to the doctor tomorrow. This is more about drivers. We have an app where you can live track every service, every route in our fleet. That's Android and Apple. I won't run through all that. This is just some things we can do with dedicated revenue. Again, that's where we're going. These numbers are going to continue to grow, especially if we're able to figure out kind of the demand response model and really pushing that out. I will say that today, our budget in Chesterfield County is about $825,000. That's what we're pouring into the county. On the local government level right now, the ask for this year from Chesterfield County is going to be basically where we're standing at about $65,000 in order for us to be able to run the services that we're providing. We did have some municipalities originally that was part of the equation, and I'm not sure, we got to get back with them because they didn't fund this fiscal year, but we got to really work hard to make sure we can get back there. And then if we were to really develop and add multiple drivers and buses on that demand response model, the local level we'll need is about $95,000. So the $65,000 is basically where we're at with like Marlboro County, Dillon County. And the level of service is very similar to those counties. And that's where we were this past fiscal year with those other counties. So happy to answer any questions. There's more opportunity. We want to be able to do more. There's a lot of folks that truly need this service in Chesterfield County, and they do rely on it every day. But the more demand response services we can put out there, the better we'll be to be able to reach the folks that truly need the service.
Anybody have any questions?
I do have one.
All right, Dr. Brand.
The PDRTA certainly is a very good help to all of the counties, and you stated that it pours about $825,000 into Chesterfield County per year.
Yes, that's what we're spending. So we have multiple employees that reside here in Chesterfield County between drivers. We have a maintenance employee. So there's a lot there, but that's basically what our annual commitment is, what we're spending between federal and state dollars.
Right. If I heard you right, you said we have more medical people that's riding the RTA than any other county?
Yes, sir. Well, percentage, based on what we're doing, you have a higher percentage of medical trips
Right.
than any other of the counties that we operate in, which is 6 counties.
This is the main question that I really want to get to. You have 60 to 70% of people that you take to work areas each day.
Yes, sir.
Do these people get paid?
Absolutely. They're all, my thing that I always tell people is they're either going to spend money or they're going to make money.
But there's nothing in place where people been riding this PDRT for years.
Yes, sir.
And they just ride free and don't pay anything back to.
The fare is free. I will say there's a big, we just went fare free in Florence County as well. The reason the fare is free is because fare revenue is not considered local match for those federal dollars. If the government would allow fare box revenue to be local match to match federal dollars, everybody would be paying fares right now. But if I'm able to, but there's also, there's also the piece of collecting the money, counting the money, depositing the money. But you can imagine $1 fare. If I were to collect $1,000 in a local partnership, for me to be able I'd have to have $5,000 in fare box revenue to offset $1,000 in one partnership. And that's because the $1,000 is, you're able to leverage federal and state funds with that, but you can't do that with fare box revenue. It only reduces, it's a contra, it reduces your operating costs, but it's not the same thing. So we've fought hard. The more butts in the seat, the better off we are. It's the more funding we get from the federal government down the road. So what we're doing today, we'll see the impacts of that 2 years from now. So in some situations, it makes sense to be fare free. And there's a lot of authorities across the country that's moving in that direction. I already have, and there's many more that's kind of following suit.
And you have a whole lot of people riding the PDRTA that already is low income, minority.
Yes, sir.
And this service here helps them out tremendously. So keep it pay free.
That would be my goal, because I've seen what the other side looks like, and to put an automated fare box in a bus, just the equipment to put it in there is $22,000.
Thank you, sir.
And so it takes a lot to recover that cost.
Absolutely.
So our first Finance Committee meeting is March 23rd at 9 o'clock. Just wanted you to know that if you're not so sure that Mr. Smallwood's in charge of that, but I'm sure that he would be happy to make any considerations, or the committee would, if you would like to make any changes to your request.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to thank Chesterfield County, because most of our counties, it's 1 year, and I'm doing the same spiel every year. Some of y'all were on this council 3 years ago whenever we made the decision to come really kind of push services here. You see the numbers heading up. I'm not happy with the numbers. Numbers are good, but it's not where it needs to be. There's a lot more opportunity. I think we can really do that. So I would love the opportunity to be able to do another 3-year if possible, because I think there's potential for us to really push that needle even further than where we are today.
All right. Well, good. Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you, sir.
Need that service.
All right. I'm not interested in being here any longer than necessary, but I just want to take the pulse. Does anybody need a break, or do you want to keep rolling?
Let's drive on.
Okay, here we go. All right, next. Next up, we have public comments. We had 2 folks sign up for public comments. Just a reminder that public comments are limited to 4 minutes per speaker, 20 minutes per subject. And also a reminder that council is not able to comment back to public comments. But if we need to connect you with a resource, or we need to discuss whatever you're talking about at our briefing, we certainly will do that. So it's your time to talk to us. And first I have Mr. Kirby Hughes.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
My name is Kirby Hughes, and I reside at 2995 Highway 52, South Chirrut, South Carolina. I'm the pastor of Outreach for Christ Missionary Baptist Church in the Cache community. My concern is the solid waste fee that is being charged to the residents that are not using the service. Now, my Bible tells me in Proverbs 31 and 8 through 9 to speak for those who cannot speak for themselves, and that is what I'm doing today. I'm here once again standing before you with deep concerns about the solid waste fee being charged to the people of Chesterfield County. As I have said before, this fee is unjust, unfair, and unnecessary. Many residents, especially those living outside the city limits, are already paying private contractors for garbage removal. These are people who are doing the right thing, following the rules, and taking responsibility for their waste. Yet, instead of being recognized, they're being penalized with additional fees for services they do not use. This is unfair treatment. When you look closely at the situation, it may seem like we're asking for something unusual or unreasonable, but I'm not. What we are asking is for a simple fairness. Fairness for the people who already pay for private trash removal. Fairness for seniors and residents who cannot haul trash to convenience centers. Fairness for families who are being charged twice for the same service. Fairness for every household that is being asked to shoulder a burden that does not apply to them. This is not a radical question. It is a reasonable one why we should ask our government to impose a mandatory fee residents who does not use the service or do not get direct benefits. Other residents have already raised these same concerns: transportation barriers, duplicate charges, and the need for alternatives such as option-in fees, vouchers, and rebates for those with private services. We're not here to fight the county. We're here to stand up for the people of Chesterfield County who deserves to be treated with respect, equality, and common sense. All we're asking is that you take a fair look at this issue and make a fair decision. We want what every citizen should expect for the government: fairness, accountability, and equal treatment. Some people already are choosing between buying food and buying medication, and yet you do not take in consideration because it's only $38 to you. Imposing these kinds of fees could be the difference between seniors keeping their homes or losing them at tax sales. It is a small thing to ask. Some of you might be thinking that I will go away soon, and I will. But believe me, I will be here until November the 3rd, 2026. For you who are running unopposed, you have nothing to worry about. But if you are not, I plan to be a thorn in your flesh, because we need to start holding our government accountable for their actions. In my closing, you started the meeting off with a prayer asking God to do things for you. Each of you need to read Isaiah 10, 1 through 3, and make a decision. Have a blessed day.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes. All right, Mr. Hurst.
My name is Jack Hurst. I live at 1638 Center Point Road, been there all my life. I got two issues. Hopefully I get through both of them. First one, tax sale, property tax. We come here October, 17 months ago, we invested our money. We haven't had about deeds or anything yet. I called our office a month ago and they said, oh, we're training people. We don't have time to work on your titles, deed. I got a friend was coming, but he's sick. He's got over $600,000 laying over there in the office. He can't put his hands on. Next issue, the goat deal. I was here back in September. We've been to court, to the magistrate 4 times. First time we come, I thought we was going to talk about that reimbursement on the dog. It was all about giving the dog back to the landowner. Killed 14 goats. Davis gave her dog back. We set another date to come back. Oh, I want an attorney. They gave him a public attorney. Come back the next time, she didn't show up. They said, oh, they didn't call y'all, tell you not to come? Nope. Come back the next time. Oh, she wants a jury trial now. Been going on since September. Nothing has taken place. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hurst. All right, moving down. We have 2 committee reports. I'll turn it over to Committee Chair, Mr. Ford, for the Building Committee report.
I don't know what the exact date was that we met. My days are all
Yeah,
messed up.
understandably.
It was one day this week,
Last
or
week.
last week.
25th.
We met on the 25th, February 25th.
25th, okay. So the building committee met and talked about some of the initial processes when looking at a new detention facility, about how to properly figure out what one would cost, what the process may look like, talking with people who have done it before, and things like that. So it was just initial conversations about the detention center, and we took some information about a needs assessment or something similar to a needs assessment in regards to their recommendation of what size detention facility with the number of beds that they would recommend. And all this has just been for, conversation and information. So there is a link to that entire meeting on the YouTube, Chesterfield County Council YouTube page. Feel free to go and see the full meeting for all the fine details of what was discussed.
Good, thank you. It was a great meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, and now Committee Chair, Mr. Smallwood, for Planning and Zoning.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Planning and Zoning Committee's met several times, the most recent being on February 23rd. What we've been doing is discussing and kind of going through the bits and pieces of the proposed ordinance changes we've been receiving and working in conjunction with PD-COG. Had a conference call with PD-COG on Friday. They told us they should have the complete document or a full draft to us about mid-April. So as soon as we can get that in our hands, we'll go to work diligently to try to get that wrapped up as soon as possible.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions? No.
And we did have a great meeting.
Yeah, that was also a good meeting. Yeah, committee meetings, if you can come to them, or if you need to be zoomed in for briefings, just know that we'll always make that available, because all that dialogue's great. All right, so with that being said, we'll move down to number 10. There is a need to extend the emergency ordinance declaring temporary moratorium on issuance of permits for establishment of mobile home parks, RV parks, and subdivisions. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
All right, there's a motion by Mr. Kirkley, second by Mr. Smallwood. Any more discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. We also need a motion to approve. Now, this is first reading by title only, and it's an ordinance amending Chapter 92, which is the noise of Chesterfield County Code of Ordinances. Once again, it's title only, so we'll have 3 readings on this. We discussed this at the briefing. Mr. Ford wasn't at the briefing, and I have asked him to take a minute to share what his thoughts are on it.
Yeah, sure. So, and also, I'd like for the sheriff to speak on it as well. So basically, a group of people had approached council a while back about the process of being able to violate the noise ordinance past a certain time for a special event. And so they went through the appropriate process, came before council, and I think it's a $200 fee associated with that to be able to extend the noise ordinance at the time. I thought it was a noble effort, and I understand it, and I'm thankful that they came and did that. And by no means am I saying I don't want them to continue to party, but it really went south about a month ago and caused a lot of problems with the noise side of things. And so it started a conversation about who benefits when somebody comes before a council and says, I would like to be able to play music past a certain time and, you know, not get in trouble for it. So it's kind of, almost in Cambo's words, it's a pay-to-play thing. And I really just, now looking back on it, I don't know that we really need to be in the business of picking winners and losers of what communities we're going to allow. I don't think we should be able to allow, honestly, but allowing people to give us $200 and the community have to suffer, you know, till the wee hours of the morning with music that they can't sleep with. So, Sheriff, if you want to speak on that, if you don't mind.
No, I don't mind.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure.
Totally agree with Councilman Ford. It's kind of puts the sheriff's office the deputies in a bad position because we're tasked with enforcing the noise ordinance. Because last year, I think, maybe last year or the year before, y'all changed the ordinance where it went from codes to us to enforcing noise ordinance. So if we're out there enforcing the noise ordinance, but yet somebody's paid money so they can go beyond the 10 o'clock time, and what Councilman Ford was talking about is several weeks ago, we had numerous complaints from the western end of the county. The noise was terrific, and it was on into the early morning hours. So you're penalizing the people that can't afford to pay and get the permit to do it. Plus, it's confusing to us, and you know, what do? Do we enforce the ordinance, or do we kind of turn our heads? And that's what this thing would do, is have us turn our heads. So I'm very uncomfortable with it, and I agree with Councilman Ford.
And that's why, you know, we're better together. So when you see something that needs to be changed, we need to change it. But we do have 3 readings on this, so we need to continue to look into it and see what direction we want to take. But it sounds like a change is needed. But yeah, thank you.
Can you read
Anybody have a
cutoff time? What's the cutoff time?
right now?
Because I'm hearing 2 different time frames.
I'm sorry. It's 11 o'clock, and what happens is, up until, I said 10, I misspoke, up until a certain time, the decibel level, it can be at this level, and
I
then
want to verify the cutoff time.
the cutoff time, the decibel level has to go down. But if you pay and have the permit, we can't enforce it. We can't enforce the county ordinance.
Prior to 11 o'clock, you can make all the noise you want.
If I'm not,
There's a decibel level.
yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's almost a tiered thing. At 9
Right,
o'clock,
it
there's a
is.
certain decibel level that it can't exceed. At 11, there's a certain decibel level that it can't exceed. But if you pay for the permit, then 9 people up here can say you can play it all night if the way the current situation is, and I just don't see.
It's 60 all the time, 11 it drops to 50. The permit waived it where it can go as loud as it can for 2 hours after 11 o'clock.
Yeah, we have the autonomy to say it's
Yeah.
going to be cut off at this time, and we have. But, I mean, we just need to look at all of it.
That's right. Well, just to put it into perspective, I mean, this wasn't just a neighbor 100 yards down the road. This was complaints from 5 miles away, 4 or 5 miles away from Black Creek Church Road, where the incident was going on, to the town of Pageland. It was just, there was a lot of complaints. And they weren't doing anything, they weren't doing anything harmful, but I do agree that, you know, there has to be a level of, you know.
I agree.
Well, the whole caveat is a lot of people weren't even coming to us to get the permit. They weren't following the procedures. So then there is the question as to, you know, what do you do about that? You can't ask for forgiveness afterward and then pay the $200. So we just need to get all of that shored up or done away with. But this is title only.
I agree.
Council Chair, can I speak on this?
You certainly may.
I'm not on council, but I serve as a county attorney, and the way the ordinance is phrased today is it would eliminate the title. It's to eliminate the granting of variances. So there's one standard. When the sheriff goes out to enforce it, there's one standard that always applies. They don't have to guess did you get a variance? It's always, are you meeting this decibel level? If you're not, shut it down, because you're in violation of the noise ordinance. So I think this really brings uniformity and addresses a matter of public concern.
And I think originally it was done just so that we would know what was going on and we could, check the temperature of that. I mean, it was done with good intent, but then we've seen that it's not really fair to the sheriff's department for us to put them in that situation, so. All right, so with that being said, is there a motion to approve first reading only by title only, the ordinance amending Chapter 92 Noise of Chesterfield County Code of Ordinances?
Motion.
Second that motion.
There's a motion by Mr. Ford, second by Bishop McClendon. All right, any more discussion? Hearing none indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, and then the last bit of business, here's the resolution. There's a need to amend the master multi-park agreement between Chesterfield and Lancaster counties for the purpose of adding property located in Lancaster County. And just for your information, anytime there's an industrial park, if it's in our county, then if we are in a multi-park agreement with our neighboring county, Marlboro or our Lancaster County, any of our neighboring counties, then we would give them 1% of whatever comes in, the capital that comes in. So this is, they've been getting a lot from us because of our expansion over in Pageland. So now they are expanding and they are adding a property located in Lancaster County. So this would benefit us. We would get 1% of their project. And so that's what this is about. So is there a motion to approve the resolution amending the master multi-park agreement between Chesterfield and Lancaster counties?
So move.
Okay, there's a motion by Ms. Burns.
I'll second it.
All right. There's a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, so now we had no items submitted by council or staff, no unfinished business, new business, no board appointments. Ms. Stanley, Administrator's Report.
Thanks. I've got a couple of items I wanted to update you on. The voter registration building is almost complete. They've actually started moving in. So probably by the end of this week, they should be moved in. Now, we've got a couple of things to do on the outside, but overall, it's pretty much finished. And I'm proud to say it really looks good. I'd love for you all to go by and see it. So it'll be set, I think, by for the filing, I think, which starts the 16th. The next thing, the health department parking lot, that's with a CDB block grant. So they're going to be starting it on, I think, the 23rd of this month. So they'll be starting on that parking lot. And then also the last item is we're going to start Wednesday having interviews with the solicitor's office for the investigator slot. Ms. Tubbs, she went to the sheriff's office, so we're having interviews to replace that slot. So I think that's all that I've got for you.
Okay, council member announcements.
I'd like to announce that we are so blessed. You all probably don't know this, but I'm announcing it. Our chairperson here, Madam Chairperson Mary Anderson, she's also the president for South Carolina County. Had a first conference last month, and you did an excellent job.
Thank you.
And we want to say thank you. Give us a hand clap. Excellent job.
It's my honor. But I sincerely appreciate having all of you with me, and those of you who aren't with me, I can call you on the way and ask you for advice or see what's going on, but it was a good conference, and I appreciate that. It was really an opportunity to have intentional conversations with our legislative delegation, just advocating for the needs of county-specific issues. So with us being able to be together and break bread together, but also to have that time with them, and they were very busy when we were there. So for them to take the time to be with us, that was invaluable, I believe. But thank you all for being there. And there will be more opportunities. If you didn't get to go this time, we will have more events that you can go to.
I got one, Madam Chair.
Certainly.
Of course, my colleagues and everyone that in the county know Councilman Ford. He lost his grandmother.
Yes.
And I just will ask the council to keep him and his family in our prayers. And not only him, but all of their friends and family members that are affiliated with them.
And even loved her.
Our prayers is with you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I got one thing. I know that the gentleman that did the review, he probably got off in some weeds that everybody may not have completely understood about the finances, the taxpayer finances as in regards to the treasurer's office. But ultimately, I think the part that was very clear was we have a major problem within the cash register of the county. And as was said before, we have absolutely no control over the person that is responsible, ultimately responsible, which would be Fred Harris, the treasurer. So the only thing we can do is bring awareness to what's going on. And I think it's very important that the newspaper hears this, because if there's anything worthy of the front page, it's the taxpayers' money.
Amen.
And so I'm going to say it, and then nobody else has to agree with it. But at the end of the day, you can't be in the money counting business if you can't count money. So I'm going to say it publicly, and if you do a story in the newspaper, I want to put it on the record. You can put it in the paper that I'm going to publicly ask Fred Harris to resign immediately from his position due to incompetence. Thank you.
Anybody else? I have a couple of things. One is, don't forget, we have a briefing on March the 16th. I really appreciate all of you. I think everybody's been a part of a briefing at some point. I know that it's not always convenient, but you do call in when you can, and I really appreciate that, because we've covered some important items, and it helps us, even though we're an hour and a half in tonight, we could be a lot deeper if we didn't have that. So that is on March the 16th. Let's see. Oh, also, I know that I've invited all of you, but I want to make sure that the public knows that there's an ETV listening tour. So they are coming, it's for Chesterfield County, Dillon County, and Marlborough County. Chesterfield County gets to host it. I always like to host. I want them to be here. But they're going to be here just listening to us. What does our viewership, what are we interested in? What do we have here in our county that could be a good story for others to know about? So if any of you are interested in coming to that, Andy Ingram, I see you back there. Make sure that the folks at Tech know. It is, kind of put it together quickly, but that's okay, we can do it. It's going to be Thursday evening from 4 until 6 at El Sharif's. So just know that I certainly welcome my constituents. If any of you are interested in ETV programming or sharing what we have in our county, please come and be their guest.
Now, I kind of mentioned that, but I had a misunderstanding. So be from 4 to 6. Now, when they come in, will they have an opportunity to say something, or it's just a listening event?
No, they are listening to us.
Gotcha.
And it has been a bit unclear to me as well, but because they're newly doing this. So we're the second one, and the first one was a big production, and then they said, can you put something together kind of quickly, and we can do it. So I said, sure, if you'll have it here in Chesterfield County, we'd be happy to help you. So that's really what it's about. They're going to be listening to us. I'm sure, there'll be lots of sharing opportunities. I don't think it's going to be very formal. Okay. All right, and that is all I have. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
All right, Dr. Brand, is there a second? Second. I thought I heard Ms. Burns say second. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. We are now adjourned.